Bill English is again being forced to explain why he's taking tens of thousands of dollars from the taxpayer to live in his own Wellington home. The finance minister is claiming the money because he says his house is owned by a family trust and he has no financial interest in it. The new documents cast doubt on that, as political editor Guy Espiner explains.
Heading to Parliament and again explaining why money is tight.
There's been a global recession.
But the man who writes the government's budgets is still having to explain his own housing budget. The taxpayer pays Bill English $30,000 a year to live in this Wellington home owned by his family trust called the Endeavour Trust. Under the rules governing ministerial housing allowances, Bill English can claim the money because he signed this sworn statement saying he has no pecuniary or financial interest in the Endeavour Trust. Last year he declared a beneficial interest in the trust. Now he claims he has none.
I didn't have a pecuniary interest in the trust. I never have had. I don't now. I don't have any other interest in it.
But in 2008 you declared that you had a beneficial interest in that trust. Is that not a similar thing?
Look, the rules, the requirements in 2008 were pretty vague.
And here at Parliament, a series of documents were produced questioning the Finance Minister's claim he has no financial interest in the trust.
This email of March the 19th shows Mr English telling Ministerial Services which bank account to put the money into.
The Prime Minister says the rules have been followed.
It's a legal test and I'm absolutely satisfied he has met that legal test.
A legal test, but morally, in the eyes of any reasonable thinking person, if it's a family trust, then surely he has a massive interest in it.
Well, his requirement is around the legal test and I'm satisfied he has no pecuniary interest.
Bill English says he's already paid his price.
I met the requirements at the time for the ministerial allowance. I paid back the money because it wasn't a good look and nothing's changed.
Well, I'll put it to you that nothing's changed and it's still not a good look.
Well, look, I'm treated the same way as every other MP.
Except, as critics point out, this MP is also the Finance Minister, trimming budgets for everyone else. Guy Espiner, One News.
Finance Minister Bill English's personal finances are under scrutiny again, with fresh questions about his involvement in a family trust which owns his $1.2 million Karori home. Taxpayers pay rent to the trust so the English family of 8 can live in the house. That's a minister's perk. But it's only allowed if the minister doesn't benefit personally, and that's the issue, as Sia Aston reports.
Bill English is under pressure again, trying to argue he gets no benefit from a trust in his wife's name.
Look, I didn't have a pecuniary interest in the trust. I never have had. I don't now. I don't have any other interest in it.
Labor doesn't buy it, especially when English told officials in March where to pay the rent.
If the Honourable Bill English has no pecuniary interest in his ministerial residence, then how come this email of March the 19th shows Mr English telling Ministerial Services which bank account to put the money into?
Just after the election, English withdrew as a beneficiary of the trust, which owns the $1.2 million home. Now his wife is the sole beneficiary. That meant he could rent it back to Parliament as an official ministerial home for about $900 a week, twice what other ministers were claiming. Prime Minister John Key says English meets the legal test, and that's enough.
Well, his requirement is around the legal test and I'm satisfied he has no pecuniary interest.
Last week, Key changed the rules so ministers living in their own homes get $577 a week.
I am getting the MP's allowance like every other member of Parliament. I met the requirements at the time for the ministerial allowance. I paid back the money because it wasn't a good look and nothing's changed.
But Bill English is still fighting the perception he only changed the trust details so he could claim the full amount. And it's a perception he's finding hard to shake. Labor wants him to release the full trust details for further scrutiny, but English says that's his business, no one else's. Sia Aston, 3 News.